Okay, everyone, I think we're ready to get started. Good morning. This is Troy Grant here on the Gear Up Central Office staff. Thank you so much for taking a little time to meet with us, and so we can go through the requirements for the sixth year of this grant, which is just really truly hard to believe that we are almost 6 years in. So with that, I want to be really respectful of your time. We'll go ahead and get started. This will not last long. A couple of housekeeping items, though, before we do. I have everyone is currently muted on the call. Just we know with school kind of like bells and traffic that we just want it so you can hear everything. We are recording the webinar. We will package that and send it out with the PowerPoint either today or tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you have questions as we go along, there is on your panel a place for you to type questions. Courtney Rogers is going to be monitoring those, answering them as she can, and if she has a question about something specific, she will pipe in and ask that question and kind of draw it to everyone's attention. So I just wanted to let you know that's how that works. And then at the end, we will unmute everyone and open it up for any questions that you have. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. So today, what I hope for us to accomplish today is to provide a foundation for developing a Year 6 work plan and budget for your individual sites and schools. We want to highlight the things that are new in Year 6. I will say that there's not a lot that's new. There's really more of a reorganizing and kind of, in some ways, scaling back because we are only going to have one group of students this year. As you know, our seniors, the cohort, are going to be also the priority group, and so it really allows us to zero in and focus in on helping those students make that transition to post-secondary ed, and then we're going to open up for any questions that you might have. This is just a review. These are things that you all know, but the 3 goals for Gear Up. Our goals are to increase the academic performance and preparation for post-secondary ed of our students. I think key in that, and something that we want to continue to develop, is thinking about not only students graduating and academically being prepared to succeed in college, but zeroing in on reducing the number of students who need remediation. So for those of you who do sales or bridge programs, really zeroing in on that and looking at partnering with Tennessee Achieves to offer summer bridge programs is key to that. The second goal is to increase the rates of high school graduation and enrollment in post-secondary education for Gear Up students. So this really is our bread and butter. What are we doing this year to ensure that every student has a plan for some kind of post-secondary training after they finish high school this year? And then finally, increasing Gear Up students and their families' knowledge of post-secondary education options, preparation, and financing. The Gear Up TN objectives, I won't read through these, you've seen them every year, but I do think as you engage in the planning activities this year, it would be a good opportunity just to refresh yourself on what the objectives of the program and of Gear Up Tennessee are. So the match requirement, many of you are very familiar with this, but just to make sure that match is an essential part of how Gear Up works nationwide, also within the state of Tennessee. Tennessee provides a dollar-for-dollar match for every dollar that of the $4.2 million that the feds give us. We provide a match for every dollar of that. For the sites, we've done this tiered approach where starting in the first year of the grant, we had 20% match and then an increase every year, and now we are in Year 6 where that match is at 100%. Of course, that match, it can be in kind, it can be cash. There's a lot of different ways that we can help you think about that, and different ways for you to get that match. And so anything that we can do to provide technical assistance regarding that, reach out to Dwayne and Shayla. We're happy to do that because we don't want this to be something that hinders you from doing the great work that you do. And so, again, this is just a representation of where we are. Again, this year and next year, we will be at that 100% match space. So the Gear Up Tennessee work plan and the kind of the development, I just cannot believe, thinking about the students that we've met through events that we've done, going to your schools, the Youth Summit, that those 7th grade students are now seniors. Many of you have built such fantastic relationships. We have, gosh, many of you who have been with the program the entire time, which is not a super normal thing nationwide. The fact that we have so many site coordinators who've gone through the whole life cycle of working with those 7th grade students, and now they're going to be seniors. It really is kind of a rewarding thing to be part of the whole process. And so this is an exciting time of this project because it's really the culmination of so much of the work that you've done up to this point. The work plan process, the documentation that we have has not changed. We still have the 4 documents that we sent out yesterday. We have the work plan development guide that gives you instructions and guidance for completing all of the work plans. The required services chart does outline all of the minimum required services for the grant. And then the collaborative work plan, again, if you have 1 school or if you have 6 of them, you will create a collaborative work plan and then an individual school work plan for each of your individual schools. So the ideal development team, we really do encourage you, particularly in this year, because we're pivoting not only to students being in their senior year, which is obviously a pivotal time, but also thinking about sustainability. I really do encourage you, as you begin the development work here, is to partner with your project director, work with site coordinators, the school and district administrators, counselors, key teachers, collaborative partners, fiscal officer, your college access steering committee members, because really you want this broad-based involvement so you not only strengthen your services and provide this diversity of perspectives when designing this next year, but also when thinking about sustainability, really getting and enhancing and building upon the buy-in that you've already gotten by those community members around the value of this work and really the value that it brings your students. As we've said in the past, we're looking to do integrated programming here. We don't want Europe to be just something else that is on the plate of a school, but how can other things that are happening in your school be leveraged and tied to Gear Up so that all of this really does fit together in this nice patchwork of college access and success work. And again, a focus on sustainability is key this year. So the required services chart, this has not changed at all. The 4 areas, student and family services, educator professional development, grant implementation activities, and statewide activities. This is key, outlines the minimum Gear Up routine requirements. We've had a lot of conversations both within the office and with you about minimum requirements versus being minimum, not being like all that you can do. And so these are just the baseline of what can be done. Really, particularly this year, the way that we've streamlined the required services chart, you have so much more opportunity to build additional services and activities for your students. And so we really do encourage you to view these just as a minimum. You know, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can do. A required service means that we must provide it, we must enhance it, or we must support it in some kind of way. And always the goal is to use data to ensure the right services are being offered to the right students. The collaborative work plan, as in years past, has the 6 sections: a collaborative contact information, direct service school contact information, the adequacy of facilities and equipment, grant implementation activities, the collaborative budget, and the signature page, and then the school work plan, as in years past, hasn't changed at all. There's 1 school work plan for each direct service schools, and that you're outlining, looking at the required services chart, talking about the things that you want to do to best serve your students and meet the needs that are particular to your school, and outline in that chart what the activity is, who's responsible for it, what the budget line item is, and to really kind of flesh out a really solid plan on how you're going to serve students this next year. So the timeline. A draft of the Year 6 work plan is due to your regional coordinator by April 13th. So we tried to give you a good long window to start this work. These work plans, as in years past, do not require signatures. We know in some of your school districts that's a really difficult thing to get done. And so while we're kind of going through the process of refining and providing technical assistance and to vet the work plans that you pass along to us, you don't need signatures for that first draft, but then we are looking to have a final version of the work plans on or before May 19th. So I do encourage you, this is a deadline that we really want to stick to this year, and we want to get the year off to a good start. And so many of you, most of you, are great about kind of doing this, but we're going to really work hard to meet this May 19th deadline so we can adequately prepare for next year. So what's new in year 6? And so this is where I'm going to spend a little bit more time, but again, I don't think that we'll be keeping you very long as we go through this. College planning sessions. So this is the year where everything kind of culminates. And I think college planning sessions, we've talked about this a lot, about preparing for a portfolio in that senior year where we want a good faith effort for every student to have a decided post-secondary plan, that they've really kind of thought about their career and career interest areas. But I think this is really key. We want to create structures at a state level and at a school level that every student, that a good faith effort is made, that every student submits at least one application to a college or university, preferably multiple, submit at least one scholarship application, and then complete the FAFSA if eligible. So I know that there's a lot of nuances, particularly that FAFSA piece, like, if you have students who are undocumented, those kinds of things, and we understand that not every student is going to be able to fill out the FAFSA, for instance. But we want a good faith effort made so that every one of our cohort students has a plan going into the year after their senior year and kind of what their post-secondary plans are. So if you look at the required services chart, we've organized many of the services around these key milestones. And many of these are ones that we've been doing every year. So you have College Application Week. We've added a Tennessee Promise Application Workshop. Many of you, most of you, have done something, or your schools have done something in this vein before. I would say, as a note, what we are seeing in terms of data on the state level is that schools that have more students fill out the Tennessee Promise application tend to, or have had, higher rates of college going. I think it's just one of those things where it's about maximizing opportunity. The more students who fill out that application who are eligible to do so, I think that we have then, there's always, no matter what their plans are, if currently they're not planning to go to post-secondary, or if they know they're going to go to a four-year school, I think anything that we can do to keep opportunity open for students so that as they move through their senior year, then if circumstances change, life circumstances change, they always have that opportunity to take advantage of the Tennessee Promise. We want to maximize that opportunity for our students. One new thing this year as well is to communicate some Tennessee Promise community service opportunities. So this is not Gear Up Tennessee or you or your school per se organizing a community service opportunity as much as it is, and this is where Dwayne and Shayla can provide technical assistance on this, finding opportunities in your area and just making sure that your students are aware of those opportunities. That being said, I do think there's a huge opportunity for schools to have like cleanup days. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities that if the school wanted to organize something, they most certainly could. The Tennessee FAFSA Frenzy, and then also College Signing Day. These services, many of them were in last year's work plan, but they're all kind of pointing to these milestones that we want to see for every Gear Up student this year. We've also added a workshop, a high school college transition workshop. This will be focused on developing study skills, time management, just the skills and knowledge that a student needs to successfully transition to post-secondary education. One of the things that we will be doing during the Gear Up Youth Summit this year is providing some professional development on this topic so that you have an opportunity to design your workshop with the support of our staff along with other context experts we hope to bring in for that training. There's a requirement for one parent, guardian, or family service, and this is in addition to the transition workshop that we just talked about. Events and services should focus on one of these topics that you see. Again, this is all in the required services chart. This is a great idea that I heard from some folks about from the NCEP CVW a couple weeks ago, that if creating a parent series of workshops during the senior year and then offering to pay for students cap and gown if parents attend a certain number of them or all of them. We'll leave that up to your discretion. I think it's a really cool idea. I just want to highlight that in that it would be a Gear Up allowable expense. And I know Shayla has gotten some feedback about that. So if you have any questions about if you weren't in that session, just let us know and we'll try to get that information to you. So career exploration opportunity, this is one of those areas where we listen to your feedback from focus groups last year. We altered this a bit. So we're asking you to provide each student one of the following opportunities: an in-class career exploration using the state's free portal, collegeforteen.org. Kevin Edwards is on the line. He is our new collegeforteen.org person. You'll be meeting him hopefully next week when you come to Nashville for the professional development. Or an in-class learning opportunity with seminar series or demonstrations facilitated through the CCE department, academy coaches, etc., a job site visit, or going to a regional or local career fair. So this is taking the place of in the past where we've had that requirement for a job site visit. I do still think that a well-designed job site visit that matches a student's interest is worth its weight in gold. I mean, I really do think it's a fantastic opportunity. So we do encourage you. I mean, and I know that it's very difficult, particularly if you take an entire class, let's say a factory or a place of business. But as we begin continuing our work to differentiate students based on kind of their academic goals, their thinking in terms of what they want to do after they graduate from high school, marrying those interests to the right college visits, to the right job site visits is really key. Other services to kind of point out, so student and parent surveys. So let me kind of mention this. We didn't do these this year, and the federal government no longer requires on our APR to have the 80% for students, 50% for parents. It is still part, though, of the evaluation plan that we submitted into the federal application. So we will do some survey of some sort. There will be no minimums like there were in the past, and there are also some of the questions that were on the federal survey just weren't particularly helpful. So we will be revising those and creating more targeted, applicable questions that will help serve not only kind of our evaluation state level, but provide some feedback to you. And we'll be doing that and looking at, and this is where we're going to be working with our evaluator to think through this, of doing like samples, so it's not going to be where we are trying to get 100%. I mean, we're going to be a little bit more strategic, so it's not a burden, but it's also informative to the work that both we do and that you do. And then finally, in this slide, a summer academic program enrichment activity. I think focusing on reducing summer melt is key here, and we are hope to provide over the course of this year some additional resources and materials to kind of help you think about that. But the summer bridge and kind of encouraging students to do those things. But again, one summer academic program. And then finally, the Youth Summit Ambassador. This you will not find this in the required services chart, but just like last year, we are going to set aside time during the Youth Summit this year for you to do some planning with your students. And we heard such great feedback about this time last year and how it kind of rolled out in your school year. So we are going to be asking, and we'll be introducing this to the students at the Youth Summit, we'll be asking students to assist with some college-related event for their school or community. We will talk about this at the Youth Summit. We will have some time for you to do some planning with your students. And we're not going to be really prescriptive about what this looks like, but I do think it's a fantastic opportunity to build a coalition of peers. There's a lot of research that supports this, of how peers speaking into the college-going activities of their students is really, of their peers, is really powerful. And so we do encourage you to think about College Application Week and FAFSA Frenzy and the other activities and really leverage these students to help make your job easier and then help make your job easier while also really best serving students in your school. So INSEP, the annual conference will be in San Francisco, July 16th through the 19th of this upcoming summer. Capacity Building Workshop will be in Las Vegas, February 4th through 7th. Europe, Tennessee project directors and site coordinators are expected to attend the July annual conference. You are more than welcome to bring other key grant personnel, such as directors of schools and principals, with prior approval, as we have in the past. And then attendance to the February 2018 is optional. The last thing that I just want to kind of mention before we open it up to questions is U Science. I sent an email to you all yesterday regarding U Science. This is something that we've had some conversation with the youth science leadership, and they have offered this career assessment to Europe, Tennessee schools at no charge. This is something many members of our staff have taken the assessment and have been pretty impressed. Many of you, some of you, a couple of years ago did a pilot, and based on some of that feedback and feedback they got from other schools, they've shortened the assessment, making it a little bit more doable within a school setting. But I will say what's interesting about this career assessment is that it does assess aptitudes and interests, not just interests. And I think it's a pretty powerful tool, and I think what we're thinking is that you could offer this to students, your cohort students this year, and use the data in your one-on-one meetings next year to kind of, again, reinforce any of the conversations you're having around the college-going process. As I mentioned in my email, the normal cost for this assessment is $7.50 per student. We are allowing folks to use this as a match. So if you, for every student that you test or assess, you will be getting $7.50 in match, and it will be at no charge for you. And really, the only requirement is that you take the assessment and you listen into a webinar that will happen in a couple of weeks, and then provide the assessment sometime this semester. So if you have any questions about that, we are excited about this partnership. This is completely optional, but we do, and this is where we always try to make sure that we're bringing the best opportunities that we can to you, and this is one that we think is pretty fantastic. So I just wanted to tease that out. So that is it, pretty quick and simple. I'm going to open up, I'm going to go over to attendees, and I'm going to open up for any questions that you might have. So this will just take me a minute to unmute everyone. And again, if you haven't done so already, you need to enter in your audio pin because I can't hear you if you haven't entered in your audio pin. And for those of you using computers, I think it's good. So everyone is unmuted. What questions can we answer about your six planning or anything that we've talked about today?
Hey, Troy?
Yes.
I have a question about the career exploration opportunity. This is Melissa in Bradley County.
Yeah.
Is this required for all students? Like, we need to track and make sure every single student has had this? Or is it something just to try our best effort to get all students included in this?
So by loosening up the way that we did, we really want all students to have at least one of those opportunities. So it could be a combination of them. So if you have like a speaker come in and that would be appropriate, then that would address that, while you could also do targeted site visits for an industry that you have locally for students who would have an interest in there. So I mean, it's a combination of any of those things, but it would be all students. Any other questions? Shayla, any questions with your group? A lot of the West Tennessee people got together and listened in all together. I think they're popping popcorn and.
Better than popcorn.
Shayla, Dwayne, anything to add or questions to ask?
No, I don't think so.
That's the mic. Well, this is the microphone.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear us?
Yes.
Oh, so we don't have any questions.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Got it.
Okay, well, we will close
Hey,
it
Troy,
out.
this is JP.
Oh, hey, JP, what's up? What can we do?
Hey, just to clarify, we'll have the full budget for next year, correct?
That's correct. So, yeah, thank you for asking that question. So the funding that you had this year is the funding that you will have next year. And so let me,
Thank you.
so So, and this is it's a good question, and because we have gotten some questions. So you're going to have from going from 2 populations, right, 2 classes to 1. But this is such a vital year in terms of kind of that cohort group we'll be working through longitudinally. So that's why we're keeping the budget the same. So yeah, your budget will be the same this next year as you focus in on that cohort group graduating and moving on to post-secondary ed. Okay, going once, going twice.
Thank you.
Sold.
Thank
Thank you so much. I hope you all have a good rest of your week. What we'll do is, it takes a little bit of time for this to process, so we will send out, just so that everyone who couldn't join the call or for project directors could see it as well, we will pull down the video and kind of clean that up and then send it out along with the PowerPoint. And as always, if you have any questions that come up, reach out to me, reach out to Dwayne or Shayla, and we're happy to answer any of those questions. And we just really appreciate you and so much and just the work that you do. And we're excited about this next year. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.